I'm thinking you could.
At Nationals Park in Washington, D.C., the New York Mets play the Washington Nationals. Opening week is presented by TD Ameritrade. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com to see how much you could save. By the Genesis G70, 2019 North American Car of the Year. Visit your local Genesis retailer. By Verizon, chosen by the experts, chosen by you. By Citi, proud partner of the New York Mets. And by Opening Week, presented by TD Ameritrade. And a pleasant good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Washington, D.C. Gary Cohen, Ron Darling, Keith Hernandez with you for Opening Day 2019, our 14th year together on SNY. It's amazing. The Mets have made many changes in the offseason to try to improve off a 77-85 record last year. Maybe the most important short term is the addition of Robinson Cano to a lineup that finished second to last in team batting average in the National League last year. Cano makes it a very different lineup.
Well, they brought him here for several reasons, and one of them was his leadership, and they expected it in the clubhouse, but he showed it in spring training with his approach at the plate. He really had a terrific spring training and really drove the ball, hit bullets to the opposite field, and it has been noticed by his teammates. This was a team that got pull happy, didn't score a lot of runs last year. They're also trying to improve on their situational hitting, and I think that you have to realize that sometimes, whether you're a fourth or a third hitter, you lead off a game with a one-run lead, or you're tied, you're a leadoff hitter. You got to find a way to get on base. Do the little things. That was stressed in spring training.
And Cano will be playing second base and batting third in the opening day lineup. Of course, coming with Cano in that trade from Seattle was Edwin Diaz, who had himself a magnificent year closing games for the Mariners and now will anchor the Mets bullpen.
Yeah, converted 57 out of 61 save opportunities. I think when you think about the Mets right now, they are in win-now mode, right? If they're in win-now mode, you have to be able to win today. Best way to win today is be able to protect those leads late. They have electricity now with Familia back and Diaz in that ninth slot.
And they've got Jacob DeGrom locked up for 5 years now, at least 3 of them without an opt-out. And there is Jake getting ready to make the first start of 2019 after a 2018 that had to be seen to be believed.
It really did. So many crazy things. He was excellent throughout, though. I remember the 45-pitch first inning. No support or run support from his mates. Only 10 wins, but that 1.70 ERA got him the Cy Young Award last year.
He'll be trying to make it 30 consecutive starts, giving up 3 runs or fewer. He'll go up against Max Scherzer, who won the Cy Young the previous 2 years in the National League. Quite a pitching matchup on opening day. All the action coming your way on SNY. Team for the masterful Jacob DeGrom. That's 11 tonight for Scherzer. Sunshine enveloping Nationals Park. Temperature around 60 degrees as we approach game time. This is TD Ameritrade's The Right Call, and you can't make a better call than this on opening day. The 1-2 finishers in the Cy Young balloting last year in the National League. There have only been 2 occasions before on opening day where the top 2 Cy Young in the Cy Young ballot have faced each other on opening day. Those came in the same year in 1979, and it's happening twice today. Here and with Blake Snell and Justin Verlander facing off at Tampa Bay. And there is DeGrom, fresh off signing his new 5-year $137 million contract. That made not just Jake but all of his teammates smile.
Well, he has become such a big part of that clubhouse. The simple elegance in which he carries himself day in and day out, and of course his unbelievable performance on the field.
Celebrate the contract extension of the 2018 National League Cy Young Award winner Jacob DeGrom with a special ticket offer. 4 tickets for $48. The offer valid is for select home games and seating areas through Sunday, March 31st, subject to availability. Purchase tickets at Mets.com/DeGrom. Let's go down to the field in the sunshine and check in with Steve Gelb. Steve?
Gary, thanks so much. And Keith was just talking about this a little while ago, but new offensive approach for this team this year under first-year hitting coach Chili Davis. It's an offensive approach that they are deeming team first. That's what the players are talking a lot about and have been talking about all spring long. At its core, it's all about just situational hitting. In the past, this team and many teams around the league were just going up there looking for their pitch, trying to do damage. Now, not so much. The coaching staff wants all of these players to be thinking to themselves, in this at-bat, what can I do to help the team the most? And as Keith also mentioned, Robinson Cano is a big proponent of that and has been really helpful getting people early on to buy into that. He's been a leader showing it on the field, but also has been taking guys aside off of the field. A perfect example towards the end of spring. Juan Lagares was up with a runner at second base. First pitch, strike on the outside corner. Second pitch, a slider in. He rolled over to the left side. Cano immediately pulled Lagares aside, said that first pitch, that's the one you want to hit. You want to try and drive it to the opposite field. Worst comes to worst, you move that runner over. Will be interesting to see how different this offense looks with not just a new hitting coach, but with the new leader for the offense.
Well, I think that Cano has kind of lived up to the billing, what has been hoped for and expected from the management when they made the move to pick him up. I love his swing. Rosario has been kind of just glued to him, following his lead, and I think it's already, Cano has already paid dividends.
Mickey Callaway and Dave Martinez, pair of second-year managers, exchanging the lineup cards and meeting with the umpires. And there is the Geico Mets starting lineup. Brandon Nimmo, who excelled in the leadoff spot last year, will stay there. Pete Alonso makes his major league debut. First Met to make his major league debut in the starting lineup on opening day since Brent Emus, 2011.
E-A-M-U-S.
And Alonso and everybody connected with the Mets hoping that his tenure lasts a whole lot longer. Cano goes in the 3-hole. Michael Conforto, Wilson Ramos. It's a long lineup now for this club. And it's a roster that, true to Brody Van Wagenen's offseason vow, has arguably the 25 best players the Mets could have brought north.
Yeah, a huge decision. We saw it made in San Diego with Tatis Jr., but his age, he's so young. But to be able to say that is one thing. To be able to act on it and bring the best 25 up here really shows that Brody means business.
Todd Frazier, Jed Lowry, Travis d'Arnaud start the year on the disabled list. But the Mets gathering on opening day to face the dominant pitcher of his generation, Max Scherzer. Jacob DeGrom may have been the best pitcher in the league last year, but Scherzer over the last 6 years has been a top 5 Cy Young ballot holder every year.
So that offensive approach of team first is all well done, except Max Scherzer stands in the way, and he has been. Last year set career highs with 300 strikeouts and only 220 innings. His whip was 0.91. Anything under 1 is Hall of Fame like, and he's got that kind of career going.
So were you basically paraphrasing Mike Tyson? Everybody has a plan till they get hit.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a baseball version of it.
Scherzer now 34 years old. He'll turn 35 this summer, and still at the top of his game. And there is a rendering of the heterochromatic right-hander. One eye blue, one eye brown.
And brought to you by Ram here. The Nationals starting infield. Rendon, Turner are returners, and Zimmerman, of course. Dozier had a big year, got a Gold Glove in 2017. They're looking for big things from him. This outfield here got 2 youngsters. They got the Rookie of the Year out there, Juan Soto in left field. Victor Robles, they have high hopes for him, and the veteran Adam Eaton.
Soto, almost the Rookie of the Year.
That's right. Sorry, finished second. My fault.
The other guy in Atlanta was pretty good.
He was pretty good too.
Brandon Nimmo set to lead off on a gorgeous afternoon in our nation's capital. Full shift on against Nimmo on the first pitch of the season from Max Scherzer. And a fastball in for a strike, and the season is underway.
Well, the gun at 94. That is getting a little bit of the nerves out. Even for a veteran, you're nervous.
And a throws the fastball right by Nimmo, and quickly it's 0-2. And standing on deck is Pete Alonso, and I can only imagine what thoughts are running through his mind.
Butterflies like birds.
Everybody goes through it.
Said he almost cried when he was told he made the team. Nimmo down on 3 pitches. Scherzer not fooling around. 96 on the last one for the first out of the day.
Well, my goodness. Hello. Here I am.
94, 94, and then added 2. Made it to 96 as he got that ball in and up on Brandon Nimmo.
And so Mr. Alonso, 24 years old, out of the University of Florida, led the minor leagues with 36 homers and 119 RBIs last year. Had a tremendous spring training to earn his spot on this team. And he goes after a first pitch slider for strike 1.
Well, that's a very veteran pitch right there. 3 straight fastballs to Nimmo, and then leads him off with that big breaking ball.
That was welcome. This is the big league, son.
I've heard all about you.
It's a feeling out process here with young Alonso for the National League.
The Nats put on the full shift against Alonso. 3 infielders on the left side against him. But one thing we saw from Pete during spring training is he can use the opposite field.
Yes, he can.
I think Keith said it succinctly. He said he's a much better hitter, not just a slugger. If there is an Achilles heel for Max, there isn't many. He does give up the long ball.
23 of them last year. He's ahead on Alonso, 1-2. The first contact of the day, a foul ball.
Got a hanger there. And interesting that they have the shift on Alonso on the left side of the infield.
One-two coming. And the fastball just off the plate at 97, the hardest he's thrown yet.
Interesting. Scherzer right now keeping the ball away from Alonso.
300 strikeouts last year for Scherzer, first time in his career, only the 5th time in the majors since 2001 that a pitcher had struck out 300.
Ooh, change.
Lays that one low, and it's 3-2.
You know, when you think about it, even if you've won Cy Youngs, every year you're trying to get better. Last year, Scherzer developed a cutter that helped him against left-handed hitters. One thing he can work on is when he does get ahead, wiping out hitters and putting them away. Alonso's worked him to a full count.
Robinson Cano on deck. 3-2. And he chased the slider for strike 3. So back-to-back strikeouts for Scherzer to start the afternoon.
Well, it's one thing. When I got called up, Gary, I learned real quick the counts in my favor were in AAA. You get the fastball. On the big league level, they can drop the hammer on you.
It shows mad respect, doesn't it? 3-2 breaking ball to a guy he faces for the first time.
So that's how Alonso's first major league at bat comes to an end. And now 36-year-old Robinson Cano in his Mets debut. And as we saw all spring, they are shifting against Cano, and all spring he hit the ball effectively to left field.
Right. And the left to third baseman basically is playing in the shortstop's position.
8-time All-Star, lifetime .304 hitter with 311 home runs. And Scherzer skips one in, and it's a ball and a strike.
Second changeup from Scherzer. Both have been way out of the strike zone and in the dirt.
Scherzer lifetime against the Mets, 16 starts, 9-4, 2.43 ERA, including a no-hitter. Final week of the season in 2015. Cano socks one out to center. Back goes Robles into the gap to the warning track at the wall, and it's out of here. Robinson Cano goes deep in his first at bat as a New York Met. That ball kept carrying to the opposite field with a following wind, and Cano has 312 career home runs. 1-0 New York.
Welcome back to New York. I did not think that this ball was going to get out. Oh, it's right down the pipe.
Change up.
Yep, right down the pipe, right down the middle. And there he is again all spring. He was in the opposite field.
Just a nice, easy swing.
He's got a beautiful swing, Gary.
Now Michael Conforto. So Ronnie mentioned that Scherzer's Achilles heel tends to be the home run ball. Cano takes him deep, third batter of the game, and now Conforto, who has 4 career home runs against Scherzer. Interestingly, facing a team that is really trying to use the whole field this year, the Nats have shifted against every batter so far.
You know what's interesting, Ronnie, as I mentioned prior to that changeup, his third changeup, he missed the first 2.
Yeah.
Way bad in the dirt. The pitcher has to raise his sights,
make an adjustment,
and he might over adjust and make the fat pitch like he did up in the strike zone.
1-2 to Conforto, and he gets him looking at the changeup for strike 3. So 3 strikeouts in the inning for Scherzer, but in between, Cano goes deep. 1-0 Mets. Starting lineup brought to you by Hyundai. You've got the 2 young outfielders, Juan Soto 20 years old, Victor Robles 21 years old. The 2 additions, Yan Gomes and Brian Dozier, with the stalwarts Rendon, Zimmerman, Turner, and Eaton hoping for a healthy season.
Well, you don't have to say too much about the numbers for Jacob DeGrom in his Cy Young Award year last year. Just think about this, though. He's already got a run on the board, something we didn't see very often last year.
Adam Eaton leads off and takes the first pitch fastball for a strike. Eaton limited to 95 games last year, 23 the year before, just hoping to stay on the field, and if he does, it gives the Nationals probably the fastest team in the league. He pops one up on the left side, and Ahmed Rosario is there to grab it for the first down.
And we'll take a look at your Lexus Mets starting infield. The newcomer Wilson Ramos, 2-time All-Star behind the dish. Alonso, of course. What more can we say? We got a Gold Glover at second base with Cano, and in the outfield, Lagares in center field. They want to put the best defensive outfield, or actually defensive team out there for DeGrom.
Trey Turner takes the first pitch fastball for a strike. Turner, the reigning stolen base champ in the National League, stole 43 last year, hit 19 home runs, played 162 games after an injury-plagued year the year before, started 158 of them.
That's outstanding.
The Nationals' year was a disappointment last year on so many different levels, but Turner was really one of the bright spots. Davey Martinez now in his second year.
He's under scrutiny here in Washington.
They were expected by everybody to defend their division title that they had won the previous 2 years, but just 82 wins last year, 8 games behind the division champion Braves.
There's just something wrong with that team last year down the stretch, that second half.
Turner runs the count full against DeGrom, and he nubs one up the line, a foul ball. Well, the biggest subtraction from the Nationals team of a year ago, of course, is Bryce Harper, who now is a Philly and will be here in Washington next week.
Oh, really?
But in some ways, you'd have to say that this is a better Washington team this year than it was last year with Harper. Hit toward the hole, and Turner's got a base hit. So a one-out single for Trey Turner, and they've got their base stealer aboard. Well, those are all the changes for Washington. Edward Corbin, of course, was their big signing. Yan Gomes, a huge addition after an all-star year last year. Dozier, they're hoping, still has something in the tank after he finished poorly with the Dodgers last year. Rosenthal, to me, is the interesting guy coming off Tommy John surgery.
He was throwing 100 miles an hour in spring training. I saw him and talked to him before the game today, and he's excited to be in a Nationals uniform.
8 new players on the opening day roster for the Nationals. That's 30%, 32% of that roster.
Well, this guy's still here, Anthony Rendon, who might be the most underrated player in the entire sport. Although he's had his troubles against DeGrom, just 2 for 23 against Jake. And he pops one foul, 0-1. And I wonder whether with Harper gone, Rendon gets a little more of the spotlight on him here in D.C.
Well, I think he'll definitely get more of the spotlight. I think that pitchers are going to put more of the spotlight on him without Harper maybe hitting behind him. But Rendon is he's just a natural when it comes to hitting and putting the ball in play.
And he uses the opposite field.
I sometimes think also with Rendon that because of Nolan Arenado and the standard that he has set both offensively and defensively at the position, that Rendon kind of gets lost in his shadow as well.
I think there's a few guys in the National League that get lost in that shadow. Eugenio Suarez for the Reds, he gets lost.
Well, you can put them both 81 games in Colorado, and their numbers, offensive numbers, would increase.
Yeah, but Arenado's the real deal.
Arenado's just, I mean, he is the finest fielding third baseman I have ever seen in my lifetime. Something. He's right there with Brooks Robinson.
Some folks in Oakland might argue that their guy's better.
They were high school teammates.
Slider off the plate. Jake still trying to get himself in a groove here in this opening inning. There's Turner, who led the National League in steals last year. Just 2 behind Whit Merrifield for the Major League League. Kansas City has built themselves a running machine this year. But the Nats should be at the head of the class as far as speed is concerned in the National League. And you know they're going to test the Mets early. Maybe not as much DeGrom, who holds runners well, but Syndergaard on Saturday. In the air to center field, and Lagares measures it and puts it away for the second out.
Well, like Mickey Callaway before the game today asked why Lagares was in center field. He said, well, when Jake gives up a fly ball, I want it to be caught. Pretty simple.
Although his other choice, Keon Broxton, is also a very good defensive outfielder.
I will say this, though. They play it 2 different ways. Lagares plays very shallow. Broxton plays very deep. Soft contact you get off Jake, so a shallow center fielder is better, in my opinion.
And the other thing that that Mickey said is, you know, look, Juan Lagares has significant big league time, more so than Keon Broxton. On an opening day with the bright lights, that's the guy you want out there. Legitimate Gold Glove. Here's Juan Soto. There goes Turner. The throw by Ramos on the target, but a little bit late. As Rosario stretched to make the tag, and Turner's got his first stolen base of 2019.
Well, you said it, Gare. They are going to test the Mets. And one of the big improvements that Brodie Van Wagenen made for the Mets to improve was their catching, which Ramos can throw, but too good a jump. And you can see that Turner is just lightning on the bases.
So a runner in scoring position for Soto, who begins this year at 20 years old, coming off his runner-up in the Rookie of the Year balloting last year, and he takes the slider off the plate, a ball and a strike.
He did not get called up until the latter part of May, and in his 116 games, he drove in 70 runs.
OPS of 923. That's elite territory for a teenager last year. And that skips in, and Ramos uses that big body to block it, and it's 2-1. Jake does not appear to have much command of his secondary stuff early in this game.
Yeah, he hasn't thrown a change. His slider has been wide. Really, his fastball has been his only pitch he can throw over consistently right now.
And you've got a fastball hitter in Soto.
I don't think you give in to him, though, with Zimmerman on deck.
That's just in off the plate at 97, and DeGrom runs his second 3-ball count in the first 4 batters.
Sorry, Ron. Sorry, Keith. Turner on second base, even with 2 outs, will steal. Martinez gives him the green light to steal.
And Rosario using that method that he employed last year of circling around the runner at second base to keep him close. Turner dancing away. And there's ball 4, and Soto's aboard. That's one thing about Soto for a very young player. He's got a terrific patience at the plate.
Well, he's got good patience, Gary, because They call it plate discipline. He has a good eye at the plate. He knows the strike zone.
406 on base percentage last year attests to that. So 2 out and 2 on. And now the man who was introduced to the crowd today is Mr. National, Ryan Zimmerman. In the final year of an 11-year contract. Last year played just 85 games because of injuries. And it's often been the case the last 3 or 4 years. Slider off the plate for ball 1. Well, last year Jacob DeGrom went places that very few have ever gone before.
And when you have a season like he had with an ERA of 1.70, it's these kind of situations that he got out of seemingly every time last year. 2 outs, runners on base.
I mean, he was always, from the start of his career when he first came up in 2015, he was always able to handle the pressure situations. 2014, but he brought it to a new level last year. Zimmerman lines one, and it's caught by McNeil to end the inning. Jeff McNeil in the right spot, a step and a dive to keep the Nationals off the board in the first. 1-0 Mets after 1.
Before this AB.
Yep.
The first pitch we're going to miss. Oh, no.
Wilson Ramos leads off the top of the second. Got a nice ovation during the pregame introductions, and another nice hand as he came to the plate here. He spent 6 years catching for the Nationals and was a crowd favorite. I'd love to serenade him with that Wilson chant.
Yep.
Most of the year last year with Tampa, came over late to Philadelphia. Really fine hitter, clutch hitter.
As far as I can see, Ramos only has one problem. He doesn't get to hit against the Mets anymore. He crushed the Mets.
Well, maybe he can do the same against the Nationals.
Well, he's got to be tickled to be able to catch this starting rotation.
It's one on the right side. Dozier slides over to get it, and Ramos retired one away. And now Jeff McNeil has already contributed, catching that line drive off the bat of Zimmerman to save DeGrom to end the first inning.
That ball tried to eat him up. It was scalded, as Keith said.
He showed me in spring training at third base, Gary, good range to his left. And also he picked up where he left off last year with the bat. Very disciplined hitter.
Flies one out to left, and Soto in and toward the line with the glasses down. McNeil putting the first pitch in play, as he so often does, and there are 2 out. Budweiser is proud to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the moon landing and continue our support for U.S. troops with the introduction of Budweiser Discovery Reserve American Red Lager. $1 per every case donated to Folds of Honor. 2 out. Here's Ahmed Rosario, who had a really nice spring after a really terrific last 2 months last year.
Well, if you recall, Ron Gary, he started running the balls out and around the, just in the second half, started really busting the first base, and it just ignited, I think, his performance.
But of course, with Rosario, it always comes down to plate discipline, not chasing pitches off the plate, which is what put him in such a hole the first half of last year.
You know, it's a fine line, though, but you know, you don't want him to lose his aggressive athleticism either. So you got to hit that balance.
That's the first breaking ball that Scherzer's thrown. Took something off of that breaking ball. 86 miles an hour.
1-2 to Rosario, and it's on the outside corner. Got him looking at a fastball. 4 strikeouts for Scherzer. Middle of the second, 1-0 Mets.
I thought we were coming out of break quicker.
Home second inning. Yan Gomes leads off for Washington and takes first pitch slider for a strike from Jacob DeGrom. DeGrom winded his way through that first inning, but clearly was not at the top of his game. Looking to settle in here in the second against Gomes. The Yanks one foul. Gomes had himself an all-star year with the Indians last year.
It should be a big improvement over their catching situation last year. Now having Gomes and Suzuki.
Yes, Gomes hit 16 home runs, 48 RBIs at 266 for the Wahoos.
DeGrom ahead 0-2, and it's popped up foul. Coming over is Alonso with Ramos, and it lands beyond their reach. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ronnie. Wasn't Gomes the first player from Brazil to make it to the major league?
Yes. I think he made it right before the outfielder Paulo, I forgot his last name, for Kansas City Royals. Yes.
Right. Yeah, Gomes came to this country to go to college, went to the University of Tennessee, but he is a native of Brazil and first ever to play in the majors. And he's one of those guys, he's kind of had a roller coaster career. Had a great start when he was in Toronto, and then he was less thought of, but then he really rose during the last couple of years, especially last year in Cleveland. And he chases the slider from DeGrom. Jake's first strikeout. 1001 of his major league career.
First good slider he's thrown in this game. This one had a lot of bite on it and fooled Gomes.
Ahead in the count, throw that, don't have to throw it for a strike. Gomes is the guy that strikes out, 219 strikeouts last year.
So 1 out and nobody on. Now Brian Dozier. With Daniel Murphy gone to Colorado to be a first baseman, Dozier signed as a free agent after spending last year with the Twins and the Dodgers. 21 home runs last year, but he hit just 215. Has hit as many as 42 home runs in a season.
Yeah, he had 2 terrific years in 16 and 17.
Won a Gold Glove along the way in Minnesota. Now the slider's coming back for DeGrom.
92 miles an hour. Let's see if DeGrom elevates here. 1-2 count coming off a slider. Elevates for that attempt at a strikeout.
And the foul tip held by Ramos on a 97-mile-an-hour fastball, and DeGrom's got back-to-back strikeouts to start the second. The home run number is amazing. 10 home runs allowed in 217 innings, easily the best in the league. The ERA speaks for itself, and did not give up a single hit all year with the bases loaded.
Well, that started right here. Do you remember early last year he had the bases loaded and no outs and somehow got through the inning?
Scherzer had a really good year with the bat last year. Had 17 hits at 243.
You know, the Mets and the Yankees are the only 2 games going on right now in baseball.
And each has an early home run. Cano for the Mets, Luke Voigt for the Yankees. New York baseball season underway. Bombs away. Scherzer hitting 8th in the order. Victor Robles on deck, and DeGrom fires a fastball by him, 2-2.
There's that good upstairs fastball.
Two coming. And Scherzer takes strike 3, and DeGrom strikes out the side in the second inning. 1-0 Mets after 2. Well, Met fans have been saying it since 1973, but on opening day, it belongs to everybody. Belief, no matter who you root for. Opening day is a time to dream. Haven't lost a game. Nobody's won a game. Everybody's capable of going 162-0.
The least cynical day of the year.
It really is true.
Right.
Some Met fans have found their way on a school day down to our nation's capital. Mets will open at home a week from today, again against the Nationals. Juan Lagares leads off for the Mets in the top of the third. And takes first pitch for a strike from Scherzer.
Bill Miller right now, he rang up Conforto in that first inning on a borderline knee strike there, and now called one borderline to Lagares. So as you're paying attention in the dugout, you know that Bill Miller right now is going to, that low ball, that knee-high borderline, you better be swinging at it.
Well, the other piece of that is, you know, one of the reasons the Nats brought in Yan Gomes is he has a reputation for being a guy who can steal strikes. And I think when they talk about pitch framing, and we were talking about this last night, mostly talking about the outside corner away from where the umpire sits and at the bottom of the strike zone.
Right.
Don't think Scherzer doesn't know that. 1-2 to Lagares. And he chases changeup in the dirt for strike 3, and that's 5 strikeouts through the first 8 batters for Scherzer. With the Amazing Mets Pass, you now can, for only $39 per month. The Amazing Mets Pass includes a mobile ticket to regular season home games, including all weekend games. Passes will also auto renew every month, meaning there's no need to make monthly purchases. For more information, visit Mets.com/pass. To DeGrom. 11 hits, 5 RBIs last year for Jake.
Was one of the questions I had about the lineup coming in was whether they were going to hit Rosario 9th and DeGrom 8th, because DeGrom's a good hitter, as you know, you Met fans know.
And DeGrom goes down swinging, and Scherzer's got 6 strikeouts first time through the batting order. It's a good start on another 300.
Right.
Last year in Major League Baseball, for the first time for the full season, there were more strikeouts than hits. As recently as 2008, there were 11,000 more hits than strikeouts. Last year, there were more strikeouts than hits. And you can only imagine whether the trend will continue. Here's Brandon Nimmo, struck out to lead off the game.
Well, Gary, I'm all for moving that mound back.
I don't think that. I mean, I know they're experimenting with that in the Atlantic League, but I cannot imagine that that's going to be a solution.
Oh, gosh, it's ridiculous.
To me, the solution is more in the cyclical nature of the game. And you look at what the Mets are trying to do this year, trying to be more situational, not swing for the fences all the time. And I think that that pendulum is swinging back, not just with the Mets, but across the game. And maybe we'll see that change a little bit.
One thing I heard in spring training from every camp was the same thing. Our team's going to have a better 2-strike approach. We're going to put the ball in play. You heard a lot of that talk. Whether it's done or not, it'll be interesting to watch.
First time Scherzer's been behind 3-0 today. And Nimmo takes a strike. And I think all you have to do is watch the World Series last year and watch the Dodgers approach compared to the Red Sox and think about which one works best.
Well, it did. 43 runs batted in with 2 outs, the Red Sox in the postseason last year. So the ability to do that with 2 strikes, 2 outs, put the ball in play, good things can happen.
I had a conversation with Hall of Famer Don Sutton last year, and I asked him about the '82 Cardinal team that we had to put the ball in play. And I asked him, he said he hated pitching against us. I said, why? He goes, you guys didn't strike out.
3-2 to Nimmo. And Scherzer walks him, and the Mets have a 2-out base runner. Nimmo walked 80 times last year, en route to a .404 on base percentage. Draws the first walk given up by Scherzer.
Looked like a 3-2 breaking ball from Scherzer, and now he's going to have to face Alonso.
He had an interesting approach to Alonso first at bat. Started him with a slider, finished him with a slider on 3-2. Nimmo at first with 2 out, had 9 steals last year. And a slider in the dirt that Gomes does very well to block.
This is the most sliders I've seen from Max Scherzer early in a game. So certainly this is his game plan. But like DeGrom, has not fully controlled that slider yet.
And Alonso takes a fastball for a strike. Interesting that they had the full shift on against Alonso with nobody on base, but here they play more of a modified shift with Dozier playing to the right of the bag.
I think more of it has to do with the runner on base. Nimmo sometimes will change the kind of shift that you have. Dozier's in a place to cover second.
Keeping the ball away from Alonso. Second time through. Interesting. Respectful of his power.
Two and 1 to Alonso. Gets one off the fists of foul ball. 2-2.
That one was supposed to be in, Keith. Scherzer missed his spot, but the catcher Gomes was sitting on the inside corner.
Robinson Cano, who homered in his first at bat as a Met, would be next. Nimmo at first with 2 out. 2-2 to Alonso. And he grounds one down to third where Rendon handles it. And that retires the side. Middle of the third, 1-0 New York. The ubiquitous Brodie Van Wagenen gets to watch what he has wrought here today after all the hard work of the offseason, getting himself up to speed as a GM and seemingly being everywhere at every time.
Awful lonely at the top, Brodie.
Not really, you know, there's always people around Brodie, and he likes to engage just about everybody, but now it's game time. Victor Robles leading off in the home third.
If I were GM of a team, when I watch the game, I would like to be left alone so I could watch the game.
That's what Sandy Alderson did, you know. He would pound the table in the booth next to us. I know that. We'll see if Brodie's a pounder. Take it high. It's 1-2 to Robles.
I know that Billy Beane out in Oakland, he'll get on the bike and just watch the game or not watch the game and just work out.
That's what it looked like in the movie anyway.
That's right.
Slider off the plate from DeGrom, and it's 2-2 to Robles, who at age 21 essentially is replacing Bryce Harper in the Nationals outfield. 59 big league at bats last year, and he did well. Hit .288 with 3 home runs.
Like Soto, he is supposed to have, and we'll see at the major league level, very good plate discipline.
And he has a little more speed than Soto as well. See how that plays. 3-2 coming. And he lines one to left, heading toward the line, and that one's going to land and short hop the wall. Robles on his way to second. He pulls in with a double. So the second Nationals hit comes from the number 9 hitter, young Victor Robles, yanking one against DeGrom for a leadoff double.
A little hanging slider here, Keith.
Yes, it was up in the strike zone. No, it just didn't break at all, did it, Ron?
Just a flick of the wrist, though, and one off the left field wall.
Remember that before Juan Soto came up last year and did what he did for the Nationals, Robles was supposed to be the guy, and he kind of got lost in everybody's memory when Soto performed the way he did. Now Eaton lines one into right field, and Conforto short hops, and it's a base hit. Robles have to hold up. He'll stop at third, and the Nationals have runners at the corners with nobody out.
First ball hitting right here. Conforto, good effort. Fortunate to keep that ball in front.
First pitch hitting by Eaton.
Looked like a changeup, Ronnie, and didn't get it away enough.
So first and third, nobody out. Here's Trey Turner, who had a base hit through the hole into left his first time, and DeGrom misses with a first pitch slider. Be interesting from the national standpoint to see if they would put Eaton in motion here, try and use their speed in a situation like this. Ramos throwing behind him and almost picked him off.
Nice. When's the last time we saw that from the Mets catcher?
He knows all about these Nationals and the fact that they're going to take some liberties and try and take advantage of that. Nice glove work by Alonso getting that tag down.
DeGrom really struggling to find his slider.
2-0. And Turner chases a fastball away, and it's 2-1. Well, that, as much as anything, was the key to Jake's season. 142 with runners in scoring position, and he's faced with a mess right here. Turner at the plate, Rendon on deck. 1-0 New York, third inning. And Turner swings through the high fastball, and it's 2-2.
And he went after ball 3 right there. He's mad at himself. But this is what DeGrom does. He elevates so well.
And Turner swings through the high fastball. That's what we said.
Again.
That bears repeating. Infield back at double play depth. 2-2 to Turner. DeGrom could use a strikeout. Eaton had just 9 stolen bases in half a season last year, but he's much healthier now and always a threat to go. Two coming.
DeGrom just going to his fastball here. I think he realizes that this is too critical a situation where he's struggling with that slider. Got burned with a leadoff double on a hanger.
Hasn't thrown a curveball yet today. It's not his primary weapon, but one that he keeps in his pocket. Again, the 2-2. This is high with the fastball, and a full count to Turner with Rendon to follow.
You know, it's funny. Turner swung at those pitches earlier in the count with 2 strikes, though, has a little different approach. Fouled one back and took one there for ball 3.
Turner struck out 132 times last year. Let's see if they let loose Eaton here, 3-2.
Nobody out. Robles at third. Eaton at first. Not going. And Turner loses the bat as he strikes out. There's a big strikeout for DeGrom, his 4th of the day, for the first out of the inning.
Another fastball up in the strike zone. So DeGrom is very deceptive up there. We've seen it over the years to know that. He wanted it away, and it went up and in and just tied him up.
Unfortunately, the screen over the dugout prevented that bat from helicoptering into the stands. So now 1 away, runner still at the corners, and here's Rendon to fly to center his first time up.
Watch Rendon in this situation, likes to go the opposite field.
And a first pitch slider off the plate for ball 1.
It's almost like Jake knows he doesn't have it with his breaking pitches, but just showing him enough to get back to the fastball.
Rendon with his fly ball out first time up, now 2 for 24 against DeGrom. Long hold, and he shoots one foul, and it's 1-1.
That was cued off the end of his bat there.
Well, he may not have hit DeGrom, but he certainly has had plenty of success against the Mets, most notably that 6 for 6 10 RBI game he had against the Mets a couple of years ago.
3 home runs, almost was 4, just missed by 3 feet in right center.
That was the was the worst day the Mets have suffered in a long time, because that's the day Syndergaard got hurt.
Right.
And of course, Rendon will face Syndergaard here on Saturday.
Good fastball.
Now back to fastball. Pretty good cut. 1-2.
And this is why I love DeGrom. We've noted for a very long time, and Gary just mentioned it, about how he pitches with men on base. He just gets tougher. And you know what? He goes to number 1. And you gotta love that.
I think if you're the Nationals, you got to be a little more aggressive with Eaton.
Yeah, I'm really surprised he's not run at any point these last 2 batters.
You don't allow DeGrom to get out of it with a double play.
Juan Soto on deck. 1-2 to Rendon, and a ground ball to third. They hold the runner at third. They get the out at second. Now coming home, and they've got Robles in the rundown. A rookie mistake by Robles, and now McNeil puts on the tag. Double play, side retired. DeGrom finds his way out in unusual fashion. Still 1-0 Mets. The 21-year-old rookie Victor Robles, indecision on the bases, costing the Nats in that bottom of the third and allowing DeGrom to get through the inning unscathed.
He's got to break home on that ground ball.
Robinson Cano leads off for the Mets in the 4th against Max Scherzer. He's responsible for the only run today, and he shoots one foul, 0-1. Here's the play that ended the inning.
Well, this is all on Cano here, the Gold Glover. This is a beautiful play. He sees the runner didn't go, no chance for 2, and makes the play, throw home to set this up and get DeGrom out of the inning. That is just a heady play. Tremendous play.
McNeil almost lost that race home, by the way.
Well, for Robles, it's really 2 mistakes, right?
Yeah.
It's not going in the first place, which you have to do to prevent the double play, and then going after McNeil makes the throw to second, which sets up the play by Cano.
Yes, and Cano's coming to get the ball, can see the runner. He's getting the throw from the third baseman, and the runner's right there. He saw that the Robles didn't break home.
Cano shoots one to the left side, and Rendon playing over in the hole. Throws him out, 1 away. But you know what I'm saying? If he doesn't go at first, he's got to stay.
Because then it's
And
2 outs and man out there.
And hope they don't turn 2, and then the inning's still alive.
So he made 2 mistakes in 1 play.
21.
That's what you live with, right?
Yep.
I mean, you've seen this, a lot of talent there.
Yep. That's good in blackjack, Ron, but not in baseball.
Yeah, you didn't do well at 21.
I missed that one.
When you were 21.
Oh, did I make a mistake like that? I don't think I did. I made plenty of mistakes.
My point was that you said 21's good in blackjack. I'm saying you were pretty good at 21.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Let me rewind for you. Michael Conforto took a call, 3rd strike, his first time up.
I may need some more iced coffee, Tracy. I gotta need...
Hey, Keith, season's underway. 1-1 to Conforto. 6 strikeouts for Scherzer through the first 3 innings today. And he gets that breaking ball in for a strike, and it's 1-2.
We talked about Bill Miller, the low strike, and this was the first one, right? His could have gone either way. A change-up sinking. I thought it was a terrific eye by Conforto, and the ball was low. But Miller has made 2 borderline calls. So you got to take note of that if you're a hitter.
Two to Conforto with Ramos on deck. And that fastball misses. 97 from Scherzer, 2-2. Conforto, 17 home runs after the All-Star break last year, 895 OPS after the All-Star break. Able to have a normal winter this past winter after the previous winter was spent rehabbing his shoulder, and by his own admission probably came back too soon, which led to the rough beginning to his 2018. But a full healthy season from Conforto is something that has the Mets salivating over his potential.
Good eye.
Again takes a borderline pitch for strike 3, a changeup. that Bill Miller had knees in black.
Well,
and that's 7 strikeouts for Scherzer.
a generous outside corner. It's like Conforto saying, Bill, what have I done? What have I done to get you angry at me?
Again, another change.
Yeah, that's no strike.
Yep, gave him a little generous outside corner there. And it's good that Conforto did not moan and groan. Just don't want to get an umpire's bad side.
So 2 out for Ramos, and he fouls one away. So that's not the way you want to start your season, right? Twice getting called out on strikes on pitches that probably weren't strikes.
Well, at least there was no one on base, no one in scoring position.
I mean, it's hard enough to hit against Scherzer anyway, right? And that's lined to the left center, a base hit for Ramos. So Wilson Ramos has his first hit as a Met. The Mets' second hit of the day.
Breaking ball. Pretty good pitch. Looking to let go with one hand. That's just good hitting right there. You keep your hands back. Look at the balance. He's straight up and down. He's not lunging. He's out in front a little bit. Let go of that one hand. That's a hitter.
So the Mets have a 2-out base runner. And here's Jeff McNeil to fly it out to left his first time up. Here's a question that I feel that I ask way too often, but it's the first game of the season, so I'm going to ask it again. Wilson Ramos is at first base. There is no chance that he's going to try to steal a base.
Correct.
Why wouldn't you play behind him? And as I asked that,
He is now.
He is now.
So someone fell asleep at the wheel.
Yeah. Zimmerman knows he's not going to run, right?
That's
You can definitely play behind him.
Especially with a left-hand hitter up. And McNeil rolls one out to Turner. He'll go to first with it, and that retires the side. A hit and 1 left, middle of the 4th, 1-0 New York. It's a pretty shot of the U.S. Capitol. We have a nice view of the Capitol from our booth, but as they build up the neighborhood here, it's getting obliterated more and more every year.
Yeah, but I think the Capitol, from our view, unless that building behind, we're looking right down a block. So the Capitol's above.
It's down there somewhere.
But they have done a nice job, haven't they, building up around this
There was
ballpark?
nothing here when they first opened this place, and now it's a thriving neighborhood. Juan Soto leads off against Jacob DeGrom, and a half swing and a miss on a changeup. Well, DeGrom was at his extricatingly best in the last inning. First and third, nobody out, and somehow found his way out of it. Struck out Turner, and then got that odd double play on Rendon's ball. High speed pitch brought to you by Spectrum. Battle of aces. Pair of 98s today. This one's been as advertised so far. Last 2 Cy Young winners in the National League. 1-2 in the balloting last year. And other than the Cano home run, nothing happened.
Pretty good changeup right there from DeGrom after a hard slider in.
Soto drew a walk his first time up.
That's why you keep throwing it, Keith. You know, I think if you're an elite pitcher, you keep throwing those breaking pitches because they'll come.
And he held back the swing on the high fastball, 3-2. Well, they forget quickly here. I really wonder. I brought this up parenthetically earlier. I wonder what the reaction is going to be to Harper when he comes back here next week.
Standing O.
You think?
You really
Yes.
think? Even though he left as a free agent?
Yes.
Soto down on strikes. Got him with another changeup. That's 5 now for DeGrom. T-Mobile built for baseball. Well, those were the numbers for Bryce Harper in his rocketing career with the Nationals. 13-year contract with the Phillies. Stays in division. He'll be visiting here 9 or 10 times a year.
I don't think he's going to get a good reception.
You don't?
Here.
I think it's going to be mixed. Okay. I think he will get a big ovation from some, and I think he will be not greeted warmly by others. You know, he's kind of a polarizing figure. He always has been. Even in people's view of him as a ball player, I think there are polarizing views, but also the way he carries himself. I think some people will feel fondly for what he produced here, but others will feel differently.
Well, I was just astounded last year how we didn't run out ground balls and fly balls on a year that he was looking for a big contract, on an option year. And I just wonder if that, I mean, it was pretty obvious if he did it here, it's not going to get you in the good graces of your home audience.
Back-to-back strikeouts for DeGrom, and there's Bryce Harper, who was the face of this franchise since he came up as a 19-year-old. That was Hunter Strickland.
Yes, it was.
Throw a helmet.
I mean, it's this Nationals organization's first superstar. Not only added that home run title in the All-Star game last year, I think he'll be greeted warmly. It's I can't wait for it to happen. We can figure out who was right.
I have heard, and I don't know if this is true, that Rice plans to take out a full-page ad in the Washington papers the day before he arrives to thank everybody here, and that might, you know, make things a little easier.
Oh, that's a good idea. That would be that's something I certainly wouldn't think of.
Well, you're just not that PR oriented, Keith.
I should have thought of that.
Gomes lines one over short. He's got a base hit. So Yan Gomes with a 2-out single, his first hit for the Nationals, and the 4th hit today against DeGrom.
Well, fastball away, threw it right where he wanted to throw it. Just better hitting by Gomes.
So 2 out and a runner at first in a 1-0 game. Dozier's the number 7 hitter. Scherzer's batting 8th. You know that Dozier's got that kind of power that he could give the Nats the lead with one swing. How do you approach this at bat if you're DeGrom? Well, he approached it by attacking him, and he hits it to center field where Lagares has room to make the catch, and that retires a side. He answered my question, Ronnie. 5th inning in D.C. Mets with a 1-0 lead. Ahmed Rosario will lead off for the Mets. For more on the Mets' young shortstop, let's check in with Steve Gelb. Steve?
Gary, one of the things we saw in the second half of last season was Ahmed Rosario get rid of that leg kick, and he had a lot of success doing that in the second half of the season. But watch now in this at-bat, the leg kick is back despite the success from a year ago. Rosario at the end of the day just didn't feel fully comfortable, felt like he didn't have as much range with his arms, couldn't get as much power. He thinks the more important aspect is making sure that that back leg is anchored to the ground. Remember at the beginning of last season, that leg moved around a lot as well. He thinks that's the key one when it comes to not chasing that outside slider, a pitch that's given him so much trouble in his young career.
The back leg's your anchor. You drive off that back leg.
I think we see, though, more and more with younger players now that back foot comes up more than it used to with previous generation of hitters. Is that fair to say?
I think so. I know I saw Clemente do it.
Yeah. What you'd call a front foot hitter.
That's right.
Yes, Tony Oliva. I know we're dating ourselves here, but Hank Aaron. Hank Aaron was a front foot hitter.
Rosario was caught looking his first time up. Lagares and DeGrom to follow at the bottom of the batting order against Scherzer. He bounces the slider, and it's 1-2.
Boy, Gomes is doing a nice job, isn't he, behind there? He's had some sliders that would eat up most catchers. He's made it look easy.
Nats made a big upgrade at the catching position this year. Not just Gomes, but bringing back Kurt Suzuki as well, after they've struggled in that spot the last couple of years.
Be interesting to see the usage of that slider for Scherzer this afternoon as opposed to last year. I've never seen him throw this many sliders.
2-2 coming, and he strikes out Rosario with a changeup. Strikeout number 8 for Scherzer. Second time he's gotten Rosario.
Yeah, 8 of them, 3 of them looking. And I would say, even though he's only given up 1 run on the home run to Cano, he has not had his A game. But what happens with these great pitchers, even when they don't have their A game, they can still make it happen. And Scherzer's done it this afternoon.
This is Trijon to line so far today. 63 pitches through 4 1/3. Juan Lagares topped one toward third. Playing in was Rendon, and so he has an easy play for the second out. Get to Citi Field for McDonald's Family Sunday, April 7th, when the Mets take on the Nationals at 1:10 p.m. The first 25,000 fans in attendance will receive a Jacob DeGrom Cy Young bobblehead courtesy of Citi. Purchase tickets at Mets.com/tickets. And on cue, Jacob DeGrom.
There you go.
Struck out his first time up today. DeGrom against Scherzer here in D.C. Justin Verlander against Blake Snell in Tampa Bay. The third and fourth time in Major League history that the guys who finished 1-2 in the Cy Young race faced each other on opening day of the following season. The 2 previous times were also both in the same year. 1979. Ron Guidry against Mike Caldwell. Gaylord Perry against Bert Hooton. That's some odd pitching history.
Right.
Rom flies one toward left center. Overcomes Soto to get it. And that retires the side. Let's go 1-2-3. We're halfway through on opening day. 1-0 New York.
Who would have guessed it 5 months earlier when the Mets opened their 1969 season? Their opponents was the same Montreal Expos and expansion team. But the Mets didn't win it. Manager Gene Mock's men did. Yet, in spite of their losing pattern of old, the Mets showed clues of greatness to come. Agee looked good in that opener. And the Mets, who scored 4 runs in the 9th to fall just 1 run short, showed they were a team that could bounce back.
There is so much to unpack from that video.
Right?
I mean, first of all, just hearing Bob Murphy's voice makes me nostalgic.
Clues of greatness.
I love the what we used to look like confetti on that around that stadium. All the orange and blue and that corrugated, looked like corrugated tin.
But consider this as well. That was the Mets' 8th opening day. They lost that day. The Mets had never won an opening day game at that point. 0-8. They won the World Series that year in '69, so they won a World Series before they ever won an opening day game as Scherzer strikes out. Since that loss on opening day in 1969, the Mets are 37-12 on opening day. And whether they win or lose today, this 50-year stretch of opening day games will be the best record in the history of North American professional sports over any 50-year span of any team in opening day. Also consider that the team that they lost to that day in 1969 is the same franchise they're playing today. The Montreal Expos.
That's right.
That was the first game in their history, and now 50 years later they are the Washington Nationals. Mets played the first game in Expos history. They also played them their last game in 2004 at Shea Stadium before they became the Nationals. Meanwhile, DeGrom settling in to what has become an outstanding pitcher's duel as expected on opening day. 7 strikeouts, 1 walk. Victor Robles, who doubled but then cost the Nationals with a base running mistake, takes a high fastball, and it's 1-2.
I was trying to do the math today as a player and now an announcer, broadcaster. It's my 29th opening day Major League level.
Strike 3 call. Back-to-back strikeouts for DeGrom to start the bottom of the 5th. That's 8 for the day.
Yep, you called it, Keith. Bill Miller has a nice pitcher strike zone.
It's a pretty good pitcher's crew. They've got Doug Eddings on this crew. He's known as a pitcher's umpire. Carlos Torres, we've seen as a pitcher's umpire. Those will be the home plate umpires in the remaining games of this series. Third time around the order now for DeGrom, and Eaton bluffs a bunt, takes the first curveball that DeGrom's thrown all day. It's something we saw Jake do last year. Save that weapon for second, third, even fourth time around.
Well, it totally makes sense. Think about it. Last at bat for Eden, he jumped all over a first pitch fastball. Next time he comes up, he counters with a first pitch curveball.
He singled to right field in that third inning, and Conforto might have gotten a little too close to that ball. It was in danger of bouncing by him, but it worked out.
Because the way he played it kept Robles close to second base, so he couldn't score on that single.
So you're saying if he hangs back to play it on the hop, Robles takes off, maybe scores?
I think so.
So that's like 3 times Robles didn't score in that inning.
That's right. Poor Robles.
3 strikes, you're out.
Trey Turner would be next. And Eden tops one foul down past Tim Bogard. Nats first base coach. Mets shortstop. Horizon trivia question. The only 2 Mets did a grand slam on opening day. And if you know this one, you are really a diehard Mets fan.
I know one because we saw him a lot in spring training.
Yes.
Right?
Recent. Oh.
And DeGrom strikes out the side for the second time today. 9 strikeouts for Jake through 5. 1-0 New York. Saturday, April 6th is WWE Day at Citi Field. The first 25,000 fans will receive a Todd Frazier WWE Day bobblehead when the Mets take on the Nats at 1:10 p.m. Purchase tickets at Mets.com/tickets. Speaking of Todd Frazier, he and Jed Lowry are both trying to rehab their way back. Lowry is here with the Mets in Washington. Frazier is back in Port St. Lucie. So is Travis d'Arnaud.
So what does that tell you? That Lowry's closer than Frazier?
No, I think the other way.
The other way around.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, Lowry with the knee, that's far more serious.
Of course, Frazier had the oblique, and that's always a scary injury for a hitter. You worry about that first violent swing. But they're both doing baseball activity, but there's no timetable on it. Nimmo strikes out, and that's 9 apiece for DeGrom and Scherzer today.
Boy, up and in twice. Struck out Nimmo in the first inning on the identical pitch. Up and in.
Both of these pitchers are getting better as the game is going along.
That's what aces do, right, Ralph?
Well, that means they're going to be out of the game soon. But they are now starting to find that strike zone, set up hitters, and put them away.
70 pitches now for Scherzer, so he should have plenty left in the tank. Here's Alonso for his third at bat. And takes a fastball strike. Pete has struck out and grounded out in his first 2 big league plate appearances.
What do we got? We got 17 total strikeouts in this Wago?
18.
18
strikeouts, 6 hits.
So it begins.
That's the way it goes. And Alonso chases, and it's 0-2. Coming to Alonso, and it's on the outside corner. Strike 3 call. 10 strikeouts for Scherzer. Our first game break of the season. Let's check in with Gary Apple, brought to you by your local Honda dealers. Gary. Thank you, Gary. Here's Robinson Cano, who's accounted for the only run in this game. A home run to left center in the first inning off Scherzer. He grounded out his second at bat. Cano becoming the first player to homer in his first at bat as a Met since Mike Jacobs in 2005. Remember that series he had
in Arizona, correct?
Well, before that,
against the Nationals.
He pinch hit against the Nationals.
That's right.
In a lopsided game. It was like the 5th inning. He came up to pinch hit, and he hit a home run. They were going to send him down the next day. Remember, he'd only come up because Piazza was hurt, and they needed insurance at catcher, but Piazza was better. And then Pedro Martinez lobbied to have Jacobs kept on the team. They put his luggage back on the bus. They went to Arizona, and he had one of the greatest series of all time when they got to Arizona.
I think that home run was hit off a guy who made different news this winter, Esteban Loaiza.
I believe that's correct. Were you there for that?
I was there, yeah.
As Nationals broadcaster that year. Cano lofts this one into right center. And over comes Robles to call. He staggers a bit, but he makes the catch. And that retires the side. Scherzer retired 7 in a row, still 1-0. Home 6th inning, Trey Turner goes after a first pitch fastball and fouls it back.
Well, an equally important inning for DeGrom here. Last inning for Scherzer. Top of the order. 1-2-3. 1-0 ball game. No margin for error. 2-3-4 in the order.
Turner lines one into left field, and he's got his second hit of the day. And the Nats have the tying run aboard with the speed of Turner in the bottom of the 6th.
Both base hits from Turner, his first at bat and his third at bat here. Down in the strike zone and middle end. That was inside corner. Struck out in the third, if you recall, folks, on all upstairs gas attacks.
Well, you've got Turner in his 43 steals last year and 1 steal already today aboard as the tying run. Do you waste any time with Rendon at the plate?
No.
Rendon has flied out and hit into an unusual double play at the end of the third. On hold by DeGrom and Turner back.
Well, DeGrom, of all the Mets starting pitchers, the best at holding runners on. Kind of varies his moves to first, varies his times to the plate, and of course Ramos is going to make a big difference. So it gives the Mets a shot here if Turner's running.
Alonso maybe a half step off the corner of the bag as he holds Turner on. Do you like to place your foot right on the bag so it's nestled against it, or you prefer to be where Alonso is with that foot off the bag?
Alonso's right-handed too, Gary. It changes the whole dynamic there. So a left-handed, it's a position for a left-hander.
But you didn't answer the question. There goes Turner. Ramos's throw right into the runner, dropped by Cano. I think he would have stolen it anyway. Second steal of the day for Turner.
Can you steal a base when you're supposed to steal a base? That's a true base stealer.
Now it's on Rendon to get him either over or in.
Might have been close that he held that ball, but looked like Turner was going to steal it anyway.
Well, the reason he looked like it might have short hopped Cano.
2-0 to Rendon. Rosario playing right behind the runner at second.
Got to watch because he'll go again.
It's 2-0. You got to let this guy swing the bat.
And he goes after a changeup out of the strike zone on 2-0. Well, that's just a remarkable statistic. With half of his starts, he's given up 1 run or no runs. And last year, 56% of the time. 29 straight starts to finish last year in which he gave up 3 runs or fewer, which is a record. And in his second jam of this game, he's able to get himself out of it in the third inning with a little bit of finesse and a little bit of help. Rendon fouls it away.
Got away with one right there. He's lucky that this one just kind of stayed and backed up inside.
That was similar to the pitch he threw to Robles. That ended up being a double.
Two and two to Rendon with Soto on deck. Off the plate, 3-2.
This is the stolen base here by Turner. Watch the right foot. All stolen base guys that steal base have great acceleration.
Does that foot turn towards second actually give you a quicker start?
I think you gotta twist and turn to get yourself running. I think it kind of gives you a little bit of a head start, Gare.
3-2 coming, and he got in on his fists, and Rendon fouls it off.
So again, the right foot. So you're kind of opening up your hips when you can see the acceleration.
I mean, is that the way you want to go, lifting that up, putting it down, or do you want to cross over with your left?
What he's doing by lifting that foot up and kind of making it square to second is that he's allowing that crossover to come pretty quickly.
He's already got his hips open a little bit.
Big at bat for DeGrom, and Rendon hits a grinder to short. The runner will have to hold. Rosario throws him out for the first out, so Rendon unable to advance Turner to third. And there's a big out for DeGrom.
I'll say again, a changeup. You remember he fell behind 2-0 to Rendon. Threw a 2-0 changeup for a strike, swinging strike, and then gets him on the changeup, a ball he pulls.
You know, we've talked a lot already today, and we talked a lot during spring training about situational hitting and how the game may be moving back toward that. And we saw in a spot like that where Rendon, who's a really good hitter, failed to move a runner along. Those things take on such greater importance when you have the better pitchers on the mound. And in a game like this, that's just a crucial failure on Rendon's part to move the runner.
Well, the better pitchers know exactly what you're trying to do. So how do you counter that? You counter it with the changeup, because two things are going to happen. Either he's going to swing and miss, get a strikeout, or he's going to pull the ball. If he pulls the ball, it keeps the runner at second.
Hats off to DeGrom. He made his pitches.
Now Soto, who has walked and struck out today.
Jacobs got to work here, boy. He's got his work cut out for him.
Pitch count growing. He's about to throw his 88th pitch with one out in the sixth. No hint of action as yet in the Mets bullpen. And he gets the slider in for a strike. 1-1 to Soto.
Turner at second base is trying to time Jacob DeGrom to get a big start, but an empty kind of swath there for Ramos to throw, make it much easier for him to try to cut him down to third. Left-handed hitter up.
Rosario playing between Turner and the bag, so he can't get too far away. Trying to come inside, but he misses high. 2-1.
Well, Jacobs mad at himself there. Saw the way he caught that ball back from the catcher. He's angry.
Certainly has not been at his sharpest today, but there's a 0 in the Nationals run column.
Says more about what kind of pitcher he is, right?
Sharp enough.
Yes. Lugo's up. That's a right move.
And backdoor breaking ball for a strike. 2-2. Trey Turner did not get caught stealing third last year. Did all 7 come against the Mets, or is that just my imagination? Two and 2 to Soto with Zimmerman to follow. Turner's running. Pitch outside. Throw to third is not in time. And Trey Turner steals third. Third stolen base of the day for Trey Turner.
Boy, he's some kind of weapon.
Oh, this is what those 80 Cardinals were all about, Ron. They had a whole lineup full of them.
Even with a left-hand hitter up, even with a pitch outside, which is the easiest pitch for the catcher to handle, he still steals the base, and the Mets will have to bring the infield in here. 3-2 and 1 out. Struck him out.
Oh.
Big time strikeout for Jacob DeGrom. Number 10 on the day. Two down.
What a pitch. I mean, the way this ball broke late. Look at this late sink.
Oh. This is going to change because he's thrown all day.
Yes, it is.
When he has where he needed it the most.
Yep. Paint your wagon.
So now the infield can drop back again. 2 out. Turner still at third. And now Ryan Zimmerman, who hit a bullet to third with 2 men on to end the first and then struck out in the fourth. And he flies one out to right center. Should be easy for Conforto. And that retires the side, and DeGrom finds his way through trouble yet again. 6 scoreless innings for DeGrom.
Jesus.
Michael Conforto leads off the 7th inning, and Nick takes a changeup for a strike. That's been the story of Conforto's afternoon. He's been struck out twice, both times looking, both times on changeups, both times they were out of the strike zone. Max Scherzer has struck out 10, but he still trails 1-0 as we start the 7th. And it would appear as though Jacob DeGrom, after 6 scoreless, might be done for the day.
Yeah, once you get the handshake.
I don't know. 93 pitches. I wouldn't want to leave the game. I know Jacob doesn't. But
early in the season, guys don't have their pitch counts all that elevated coming out of spring training. And Mickey Callaway going over for the handshake, and that should just about do it.
Well, you got to get Lugo through the 7th, and then you go to your weapons, right?
Well, not necessarily.
That's true.
You could run Lugo out there for
if he
2
has a good inning,
and go straight to Diaz. 1-2 coming to Conforto. I think the game plan with Lugo and Gazelman is to think of it in this way. You've got each of them available for 2 innings every 3rd day, right?
Yes.
So if you can use them judiciously, that might be the way to go.
You got
day off tomorrow.
You got a day off tomorrow. Lugo 1, Familia 1, and then Diaz.
Hooked down the right field line, but foul.
Boy, a steady diet. We talked about the numbers Conforto has against Max Scherzer, and he has just pitched him completely different. All changeups and breaking balls, fastballs around the perimeter of the strike zone.
Throwing the slowest curveball he's thrown today on that last pitch. Wilson Ramos on deck, then Jeff McNeil in the 7th. Conforto bounces that one foul. Cutter from Scherzer. Well, DeGrom goes 6 today. No runs, 5 hits, 1 walk, 10 strikeouts, 93 pitches, and in typical Jacob DeGrom fashion, he was able to find his way through jams when it looked most dire for him. Off the fist, a little floater down the left field line. On comes Soto, and he gets there for the first out. Conforto retired. Let's go to the studio and check in for a game break with Gary Apple. Gary. You mean second baseman Mike Moustakas?
Yes.
Well, they did it with Travis Shaw last year.
Right.
So why not? Here's Wilson Ramos, who had a base hit his last time up. He was the last man to reach against Scherzer, who's now retired 8 in a row. Well, there's the breakdown on DeGrom. He threw 1 curveball all day, threw a ton of sliders, and had mixed results with it. Your StatCast AWS pitch breakdown. Grounded down to 3rd, and Rendon with the easy hop. Throws out Ramos 2 away. He had 1 or 2 fortunate moments. He had the line drive from Zimmerman in the 1st inning with 2 men on. That ended that one. He had the base running mistake by Robles in the 3rd that led to the double play. But then that last inning in the 6th was sublime. Get the runner to 3rd with 1 out, and that 3-2 changeup he threw to Soto, maybe the best pitch he threw all day. Here's McNeil, who's flied out and grounded out 0 for 2. Meanwhile, Scherzer's been almost as good, but the home run by Cano in the 1st inning so far has stood up. He's allowed only 1 hit since then. He's walked only 1, struck out 10. A true matchup of aces, and it's going about as you would have expected. Question for Scherzer is, will he be able to hang around long enough for his team to rally? He's only thrown 87 pitches with 2 out in the 7th.
He pitched on opening day last year, and they left him in there for 100 pitches. So, give you an idea.
McNeil lays off the changeup, 2-1.
That's the exact pitch that Conforto was struck out on. Had more of the middle of the Conforto, but the elevation was the same. That sinking change.
Another changeup. This one in for a strike. 2-2. Now Scherzer threw 220 innings last year. 6 straight years he's thrown 200 plus, and each of those 6 years he's finished in the top 5 in the Cy Young balloting, winning it 3 times. One of the masters of his generation. 2-2 to McNeil. Yeah, that skips in. 3-2.
He tried to overthrow that a little, add a little extra.
Well, he's due a turn at bat in the bottom of the 7th, so maybe he's thinking this is the end of the road.
I think this is the end of the road for him.
He's losing 1-0, and yes, well, they have to pinch hit.
Unless 2 guys get on and he can bunt.
Right, or unless they score before he comes up.
Correct.
3-2 to McNeil with 2 out. And he goes with a backdoor breaking ball and misses for ball 4. That was an odd choice. Second walk of the day given up by Scherzer. Coming up tonight on Geico Sports Night at 11, all the Major League Baseball news. Mets, Yankees, everybody is playing.
That's right. All 30.
I can't remember a Major League opening day in recent years where every team was playing on the same day. Of course, the Mariners and
That's right.
A's got it started last week in Japan, but even they are playing today. There's the softest throw to first you're ever going to see.
He has a real quick move with his feet, and then he just lobs it over there.
Wasn't that long ago, really, when the Reds always had the first game of the year.
And the Senators had the first game in the American League back when there were Senators. I guess that's been a while. McNeil dancing off first, took a huge lead but did not go as Rosario took a strike. Going to dance off that far, why wouldn't you run?
Well, yeah, I think, but you dance off that far and he holds you there, and then you get kind of flat-footed.
Yep. Rosario's been up twice, struck out both times. McNeil stole 7 bases last year in his 2-month stint in the big leagues. He was surprising in every aspect last year. Even that part. A little faster than you thought. A little better defender than you thought. A little more power than you thought. Charging Rendon. Quick throw and a low throw, and Zimmerman digs it out very nicely. And they get the speedy Rosario to end the inning. A walk and 1 left. Stretch time in D.C. 1-0 New York. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Chase. Earn 1.5% cash back on everything you buy with Freedom Unlimited. The State Farm agent of the game, Pat Cauley. Nice baby. Glendale, New York. Contact Pat at patcauley.com. And by Vincent Palmieri and the team at East Coast Power and Gas. East Coast Power and Gas bringing the Mets fans affordable energy. The City Probables for the remainder of the series. Saturday afternoon, Noah Syndergaard and Steven Strasburg. Sunday afternoon, Zach Wheeler and the newly acquired left-hander Patrick Corbin for the Nationals. Today, experience the storylines that have the New York sports culture buzzing through the lens of social media reaction on SNY's news show, The Thread, presented by Citi. Premieres today at 5 p.m. right here on SNY. Seth Lugo, first man out of the bullpen for the Mets in 2019.
Well, to go back to what you were talking about, Gary, I think Lugo and Gesellman will be right back around that 100 innings pitched, which Lugo did last year. He had an outstanding year.
Interesting that as Lugo begins his action in this game facing Yan Gomes, Justin Wilson is already throwing in the Mets bullpen. The pitcher spot is due up 3rd in the inning. You've got Matt Adams sitting on the bench as the prime left-handed pinch hitter for Davey Martinez, and so Wilson presumably getting ready for him.
You always, as a manager, got to think 3-4 hitters ahead.
And yet at the same time, you think of Lugo as the kind of crossover guy for whom you don't need to bring a lefty in.
Just in case Lugo does not have his A game, you have an option, right?
1-1 to Gomes, and it's up and in. 2-1.
I like seeing Riggleman and Callaway discussing things.
I asked Mickey today about Jim Riggleman and the way the two of them are going to operate together. I said, is there something in particular you're looking for from Riggleman? And he said, what I like about Jim is that he's going to tell me everything I need to know, and I'm not going to have to ask him. And that to me is the most important piece.
Yeah.
Is that Riggleman's not going to be shy about telling Mickey what he needs to know in any given spot.
You know, 9 times out of 10, you hope your manager would have all those scenarios kind of in his brain, thinking about it anyway. But occasionally that bench coach will say something where, what, say that again? Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
And Jim's experience as a National League manager just is, it's vital. Something that was really missed last year. Swing and a miss, and Gomes down on strikes to start Lugo's tenure in this game. 1 out and nobody on. Let's check in with Steve Gelb. Steve?
Gary, first pitch of the season for Lugo was a slider. It's going to be interesting to see how much more he uses that pitch this year. Worked on it a lot in spring training. Was trying to get it further away from the cutter break. Wants to get under barrels more. And Edwin Diaz, who has a nasty slider, he taught Lugo that grip, and Lugo feels a lot more comfortable with it, especially over the last couple of weeks.
Brian Dozier takes curveball for a strike. Well, he threw his slider 12% of the time last year, but it's a little different slider now than it was last season.
Yes, and remember, he ditched that slider for a while because he was getting it was hurting his arm a little bit, so that's why he stayed away from it. But you see the first 2 pitches here, right back to it with Dozier up.
Interesting that Scherzer is out on deck with Dozier at the plate, and I'm sure Davey Martinez's thinking is if Dozier hits the ball to the ballpark, he can leave Scherzer in the game. He has Trevor Rosenthal up in the bullpen. Dozier has struck out and flied out today. 1-2 coming from Lugo, and he struck him out with a fastball. Back-to-back strikeouts for Lugo. 2 out and nobody on. And despite the Nats being down 1-0 in the 7th, Scherzer's going to stay into bat.
That's an unusual move. If you're down 1-0, you'd think a manager here would go to Adams and make Mickey Callaway bring Wilson in, or stay with Lugo. You might not get another chance with Adams.
I mean, that's very strange. I mean, Scherzer obviously wants to stay in the game, and you can't fault him for that. But in the National League, when you're down in the 7th inning, you got to pinch it.
You got to make that move,
especially when you got a guy on the bench like Adams with one swing can tie the ball game.
And also, you have to consider the fact that with Edwin Diaz in the 9th inning, the Mets have the kind of lockdown closer that they haven't had in recent years, and you have to maybe think the game a little differently if you're the opposing team. 1-2 to Scherzer. Meanwhile, Jeurys Familia is getting up in the Mets bullpen.
Well, what happens is that you look at the rest of your lineup, there's nowhere really to hit Adams for anyone else. So you take your shot here.
And Scherzer just got a piece of that to stay alive. Lugo fanned his first 2. There's Familia getting ready.
Well, he's definitely going to be the bridge to Diaz.
Boy, I don't know if Lugo keeps pitching like this. I think I'll leave him in for the 8th. But you mean in general?
I just think of the off day tomorrow.
Strike 3 called, and Lugo strikes out the side. DeGrom did it twice today, and now Lugo strikes out the side. Still 1-0. Starters, well, an opening day matchup of aces that lived up to the billing. DeGrom and Scherzer each struck out 10. Scherzer's gone 7. He's still in there. DeGrom went 6. The home run by Robinson Cano, the only blemish for Scherzer. As you look at the Mets box score, brought to you by TD Ameritrade. Cano and Ramos, the 2 newcomers, each with the only 2 hits for the Mets. Cano home run, a Ramos single in the 4th, and Scherzer's been fairly impeccable since. 93 pitches as he takes the mound for the top of the 8th to face 8, 9, and 1 in the Mets batting order. Juan Lagares will lead off. Dom Smith has come out on deck to pinch hit, and then Brandon Nimmo. And you would think with Dom pinch hitting that maybe he stays in the game for defense as well. Meanwhile, Lagares takes out of the strike zone for ball 1.
I think that's a move you're going to see a lot late in games. Dom going to first base defensively, pinch hitting here, and you're also going to see maybe Keon Broxton get some time in the outfield.
Now here's my question, because I don't think there's an obvious answer to it. If Broxton comes in for defense, who's coming out? Is it Nimmo or is it Conforto?
To me, it would be Nimmo.
We'll see how Mickey Callaway decides to play it, if indeed he goes in that direction. One thing you know, Lagares is staying in for defense. Well, he's gone 0 for 2 today. He tops one foul. This copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the New York Mets and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the New York Mets. I don't remember the last time we read that.
I know. I thought we just like threw it out there.
I'm glad it's back.
Really?
You're glad it's back.
You were afraid of copyright infringement, Keith? By the way, you got to get a look at Keith's gloves. Here's a 2-1 in there for a strike. First of all, it's not cold, which I don't
My hands
understand
are
why
cold.
he's wearing gloves. But these are the SNY issue gloves. Now show them. Show them they got the little.
I don't know.
Removable top.
I feel like it's lamb chops.
Sherry Lewis swinging a miss, and Lagares is down on strikes, and that's 11 now for Scherzer, who has struck out 10 or more for the 83rd time in his major league career.
So we talked about how the hitters are going to change. 24 punch outs in this game so far.
You know, getting back to your point about the defensive possibilities of the defensive change, I think also we got to make note is that there's 6 bench players now and 3 catchers. There's only 5?
Yeah.
Okay.
Next year there'll be an extra one.
But you got the 3 catchers now, so you're not stuck. I mean, to me, you got a good enough outfielders out there. If you don't want to diminish your bench. This game could go extra innings, but definitely the move is Dom Smith to first base.
Well, I think if Dom is on this roster, that's one place that he's got to play.
Yeah.
Right. It would appear as though, especially with Alonso in the lineup today against Scherzer, that Alonso's going to get the vast majority of the playing time if he continues to, to perform the way he did this spring. And that if Dom's going to be on this team, that's going to be a big piece of his role. Now, it all can change when Jed Lowry and Todd Frazier come back. The constitution of the Mets bench is going to be different, but for now, it would certainly appear to be the play. 2-1 to Dom, with a really nice spring.
You have some depth on this Met team, but I think a manager always what they are looking to do is include everyone. And this is a good way to include Dom.
It's worked the count in his favor. A rare time today against Scherzer is walk 2. And you got a good pitch to hit and fouled it back.
Well, there's 3-1 and let it rip. I don't think he's going to get that fastball again.
He'll get the 3-2 changeup, I think.
By the way, Christian Yelich just picked up where he left off, just at a home run to put the Brewers in front. Maybe Miles Michaelis won't win the Cy Young. 3-2 coming to Dom, and he pokes one foul. Day off tomorrow for the Mets and Nats. Series resumes Saturday afternoon with Syndergaard against Strasburg. 12:30 the coverage right here on SNY. I feel like we've just picked up where we left off. 3-2. And that's inside, ball 4. Good plate appearance for Dom Smith, and he's aboard with a 1-out walk. Third walk given up by Scherzer.
Slider down and in. Good eye.
Scherzer wanted this pitch.
Oh, changeup. Is that changeup?
Changeup.
There's that borderline strike, and that was closer than the one he rung up Conforto on earlier.
Well, that's 105 pitches for Scherzer on opening day, and he's staying in to start a 4th time around the batting order with Brandon Nimmo coming up. Nimmo has struck out twice and drawn a walk, 0 for 2. Goes after a first pitch fastball and on his hands, 0-1.
Well, all of these teams in the National League East are going to put a lot of thought into the early part of the season. Mets play what, 19 of their first 24 in division.
Yep.
13 of those 19 on the road.
Yep.
First 11 for the Nationals are in division.
Curveball by Scherzer to get Nimmo lunging, and it's 0-2. Well, each of the last 5 years, the team in this division that played the best against the division won the division.
Brave.
So that's a big thing right there.
Braves last year were 14-5 against the Marlins.
Well, beating up on the Marlins is going to be a prerequisite for the other 4 teams. Also beating up on the AL Central, who everybody plays in interleague play. 0-2 to Nimmo with 1 out. And he lays off. Changeup from Scherzer, 1-2. Are you surprised Scherzer's being pushed this far?
Yes.
On opening day?
Yes, I was surprised that he wasn't hit for, and I'm surprised that he's being pushed this far. Yes.
They've got Matt Grace, the left-hander, Justin Miller, the right-hander, up in the bullpen. Right-hand hitter on deck, and Alonso.
May-June game, not surprised.
Yeah. Oh, he's a 120-pitch guy in the middle of the season. Yeah. And he gets Nimmo for the 3rd time. That's a dozen strikeouts for Max Scherzer, 2 out of the inning. And that's going to be all for Scherzer. Davey Martinez on his way out to the mound. And a good finish for Scherzer, who had a great day other than the Cano home run in the first. Seven 2/3, 12 strikeouts for Scherzer, but he leaves trailing 1-0 in the 8th. We'll be right back. '31-year-old Justin Miller on to face Pete Alonso.
He was signed last winter. He's got a good fastball, and a split finger is his out pitch.
Alonso 0 for 3 in his big league debut. 2 strikeouts and a ground out against Scherzer. And he takes a first pitch fastball for a strike from Miller. Alonso, 2 of the 12 strikeouts for Scherzer today. He allowed just 2 hits, walked 3 over 7 2/3. Smith at first with 2 down. And Alonso takes up and in. Ball and a strike. Robinson Cano on deck. They keep the lefty Matt Grace ready in the bullpen for him. Jerry's Familia will be on to pitch for the Mets in the bottom of the 8th after Lugo left for the pinch hitter.
So closed is Miller.
It's got to be awfully hard to pick the ball up with that closed stance.
Well, that's, as a pitcher, you do whatever you can to be more deceptive. And Miller has chosen to do it this way.
A nice year last year with the Nats, his best in the big leagues after starting out with the Tigers and the Rockies. One-two coming, and Alonso chases and just gets a piece just to keep the bat alive.
Well, he's going to get a steady diet of sliders his first time through the league to see if he lays off them or not.
Well, we saw it even in his first at bat. Scherzer started him with a slider, finished him with a slider. And now Miller trying to finish him off the same way. One-two. Pops one foul. It'll come back out of play.
Well, one thing's for certain with Alonso, he is keyed on that fastball. He has been behind the count and did take a called 3rd strike his last at bat, but on a fastball.
Again, the 1-2. Looped into center field. That's going to fall for a base hit. Smith pulls in at second. Pete Alonso with his first big league hit. take that ball out of play and put it in the trophy case.
And we're going to have a pinch runner for Alonso.
Keon Broxton will run for him and then stay in the game for defense. So Alonso's work is done on his first day in the major leagues. He picks up his first hit and his 4th at bat. And gets the appreciation from his team. So Alonso with his first hit. Miller out, Grace in to face Cano. We'll be right back. Veteran left-hander Matt Grace in to face Robinson Cano. 2 out and 2 on, top of the 8th. And Cano takes the first pitch slider for a strike. Cano is responsible for the only run of the game and now facing the lefty Matt Grace.
Grace has great numbers against right-handed hitters. Good sinking fastball. You'll see more sliders here against the lefty Cano.
First at bat today for the Mets with a runner in scoring position, and it goes to Cano, who homered in the first inning. And he takes the sinker low and in, a ball and a strike.
Sometimes you get these veteran hitters, they sit on a pitch, probably anticipating he's going to get a slider from Matt Grace.
Smith at second, Broxton pinch running for Alonso at first. 1-1 to Cano. And Robbie lines one the other way for a base hit. Here's Smith around third and heading home. He will score. Robinson Cano with his 2nd RBI hit of the day. And it's 2-0 New York in the 8th. We saw it all spring. That ability to take it to left field, particularly against the left-hander. Cano drives in his 2nd run, and the Mets have a little breathing room.
This is a sinker inside, and it's an inside out. That's just good hitting. That is a good, not a bad pitch by Grace here. And it's just, you got to tip your hat. That is just solid hitting.
So now it's 2-0 and a chance for Michael Conforto against the lefty. Well, Cano making his presence felt. 2 RBIs today. A fine play in the field on that unusual double play the Mets turned behind DeGrom. All positives for Cano in his first day as a Met. Meanwhile, Nationals have sent 2 relievers to the mound, and they've each given up a hit to the only man they've faced. Cal Barraclough's the next man up in the Nationals bullpen. Conforto today 0 for 3, 2 strikeouts and a flyout against Scherzer. And he pops one up on the right side. Zimmerman retreating into foul ground. And that retires the side, but not before the Mets tack on a run. 2-0 New York going to the bottom of the 8th. Struck him out.
Oh.
Big time strikeout for Jacob DeGrom. Number 10 on the day. 2 down.
What a pitch.
Maybe the biggest out that Jacob DeGrom got all day, striking out Juan Soto with a runner at third and 1 out. Changes for the Mets. Jerry's Familia comes on to pitch as we go to the bottom of the 8th.
Well, I just like all the moves that have been made now with Dom Smith at first base. Broxton goes into right field. Conforto made the last out, and Familia's going to own the 8th this year.
Victor Robles leads off in the bottom of the 8th and takes inside for ball 1. I think it's interesting the way Mickey Callaway made his defensive moves. I have to believe that if Conforto had not come to bat in that top of the 8th, that he would have taken Nimmo out for defense and put Broxton in his spot. But because Conforto made the last out, he took Michael out instead, put Broxton in his spot, and that way he could flip Familia into that 4-hole.
If it's a 1-0 game, does he still do the same thing?
I don't know. It's a good question.
You got a pretty good defensive outfield out there right now with Nimmo, Lagares, and Broxton.
I mean, in Lagares and Broxton, you have 2 elite defensive outfielders. And so they will use them in late game situations as much as possible. Well, Familia throws his first, no, not a strike.
Wow, where was that?
Wow, I guess because Ramos didn't catch it. He's looking at Bill Miller a little incredulous.
Listen, the first pitch he threw was a strike. So 2 of the 3 have been, he thought, strikes, and he's sitting at 3-0.
With an umpire who's been pretty generous with his strike calls most of the day. So it's 3-0 to Robles, who doubled back in the third. One of the 5 hits DeGrom gave up in his 6 scoreless innings. Lugo struck out the side in the 7th, and now Familia. And there's a knee-high strike, 3-1.
See, we sit up so high here. Here's another part of that defensive change. Doesn't it seem like there's so much more room and you need more speed from your right fielder as opposed to left fielder in this? It seems the expanse is much bigger in right and right center. But
although it's a predominantly right-hand hitting team.
Yeah.
Got in on the fists of Robles with that sinker, and it's 3-2. Familia traded to Oakland last summer, back as a free agent this winter, and happy to be back with the Mets in a less prominent role than when he left. 3-2 coming to Robles with Eaton on deck. And a fly ball along the left field line and foul ground. Back goes McNeil near the stands, but he can't quite get to it. Nice effort from Jeff. Three-two coming. Just got a piece. You know, I'm thinking about this. We'll have to ask Elias. I wonder how many pitching staffs have ever had 2 guys at the same time who have had 50 save seasons in their career. They, of course, set the Mets club record with 51 saves. Diaz saved 57 for Seattle last year. It can't have been too many.
No, rarefied air.
There aren't too many guys who've ever saved 50 in a season. Punched out towards short, and there's Rosario to grab it for the first out. 1 out and nobody on. Now a quick word from TD Ameritrade.
Tough trade got you in a pickle? Make the right call with TD Ameritrade's trade desk. I'd do it, but time's hard.
1 out and nobody on. Now Adam Eaton up for the 4th time. 1 for 3 and a base hit to right field back in the 3rd. And McNeil's going to come well in at third base to guard against the bunt. Smith playing maybe a step behind the bag at first. And maybe the most interesting part of that defensive alignment was Cano shortening up at second base.
I've seen that happen with Cano to start games where the leadoff hitter has some speed and can bunt. He plays that halfway position.
Is that to get him a head start to covering first, or to charge on a bunt that gets past the pitch?
Both. I think both.
I don't particularly care for it. I like him playing back for defense and let the first baseman shorten up a little bit. And I really think that if Eaton's going to bunt, it's a right-hand pitcher. He's going to bunt down the third base line.
Well, now it's moved with 2 strikes, and everybody drops back.
I just hate to give up range in the infield when a close ball game.
Although Cano is still playing in from the edge of the outfield grass.
And now he just backed up a little bit.
He's playing fine right now where he's at.
I think he was unsure of what the count was. He was peering out at the scoreboard right before that pitch. And I think he might have thought it was 1-1 rather than 0-2. I'm not sure. 0-2 to Eaton with Trey Turner on deck. 2-0 New York. We're in the 8th.
Wants this breaking ball down. He didn't.
Saw the hand motion from Ramos that he wanted that down and in slider.
Saw Jay Reese throw his splitter a little bit during spring training this year. A pitch he kind of ditched last year. Threw it only 3% of the time. One-two coming. Oh. And he comes in and hits Eaton. And And so the Nats have a one-out base runner, and they'll get Turner to the plate as the tying run.
Well, what he did, because his ball usually runs or sinks, he allowed for that ball to run or sink, and it never did.
So now Turner, who has 2 hits today for the Nats, both singles to left field. He's stolen 3 bases. He hit 19 home runs last year, so he is a threat. Tying run at the plate in a 2-0 game. And Turner takes one below the knees, ball 1. One thing about Familia, he's always been outstanding at keeping the ball in the ballpark. Last year allowed 3 home runs all year. To short, Rosario sure of the out at second, but no chance to double up the speedy Turner. It was nicely handled by Rosario, recognizing that he had to be sure of getting the 1 out, knowing that it would be awfully hard to turn 2. Watch SNY games on the go on any device. Just visit SNY.TV or download the NBC Sports app today for live streaming coverage of every SNY Mets game.
I'll say one thing for Rosario, and I noticed this all last year. He is not a fancy Dan. He gets in front of the ball. He uses 2 hands. He's made nice plays in the field all day today.
So now it's Rendon, who went 0 for 3 against DeGrom today. Now facing Familia with Turner at first and 2 out. Well, this is one time that Turner's not going to be running. Rendon's had as much trouble against Familia as he's had against DeGrom, just 1 for 11 against Jerry's. And he lays off the first pitch slider, ball 1.
You know, something I'm going to watch as we go through this series against the Nationals throughout the year. How much an influence does Ramos have in calling a game against hitters that he played with?
6 years of Washington National. One 1-0 to Rendon. And he pops it up into shallow center. Lagares coming on. Plenty of time to get there. And that retires the side. Jerry's Familia with a hitless 8th. We head to the 9th. 2-0 New York. Marlon Kyle Barraclough comes on to pitch the top of the 9th for the Nationals.
Well, he was one of the 2 big acquisitions for Mike Rizzo in that bullpen. He, along with Trevor Rosenthal, are going to be a big part of the Nationals bullpen.
Wilson Ramos leads off for the Mets in the top of the 9th. Ramos 1 for 3 in his Mets debut. And he lines one into center field. Coming on quickly, making the dive is Robles, and he makes the catch. Nicely handled by Victor Robles. He's got some real closing speed in center field. 1 out.
Well, this ball is ripped and just too much hang time. Nice play.
What I found interesting there, not only with the great athleticism, but they had Ramos played to right center field. That took away the hit also.
So 1 hard out for Barraclough, and here's Jeff McNeil, who's 0 for 2 and a walk today. Meanwhile, El Sugar, Edwin Diaz, is up in the bullpen for the Mets, ready to make his Mets debut and perhaps looking for his first save after 57 for Seattle last year. I say perhaps because, you know, he scored a couple more runs.
Right.
There's no save.
But if you don't, it'll be an interesting storyline. Cano and maybe Diaz in the same game.
Perhaps perchance.
To McNeil with Ahmed Rosario on deck. In the bottom of the ninth, the Nationals are due to send up Juan Soto, Ryan Zimmerman, and Yan Gomes against Edwin Diaz. Mets are trying to continue what has been the most remarkable opening day run in professional sports history. Hit on the ground sharply, but handled by Dozier to retire McNeil. 2 out. Let's answer our Verizon trivia question for today. Only 2 Met Grand Slams on opening day. Go.
No, I only know Colin Cowgill.
And Todd Huntley was the other one. That was in Coors Field in '95 in the late start to the season. That's when he hit the grand slam, and he said after the game that the upper deck was whispering to him. And Frank Funk, who was the Rockies pitching coach at the time, took great offense to that. 2 out and nobody on now. Ahmed Rosario, who's 0 for 3, couple of strikeouts and a ground out against Max Scherzer. Scherzer was terrific, 7 2/3, 2 runs, 2 hits, 3 walks, 12 strikeouts, but Jacob DeGrom was better. 30th straight time Jake has allowed 3 runs or fewer, 6 scoreless innings, 5 hits, 1 walk, 10 strikeouts. It was truly a battle of the elite starters in the National League. And Rosario just got out of the way. 2-0.
Hundley's happened so far ago. I was still playing.
That was your last year, right?
Yeah.
95. But that was before interleague play, so you would have never pitched at Coors Field.
That's right. That's fine with me.
What a shame.
I wasn't well equipped in the last year of my deal to pitch in Coors Field.
Good fastball by Barraclough, 2-1. Kyle Barraclough, 4 years with the Marlins. He's now 28 years old. Mets have had some success against Barraclough over the last few years. Hit a couple of balls sharply in this inning, but both were outs. 2-2 to Rosario.
That was an interesting shot we got there, right? Of Conforto and Chili Davis. After Conforto's been taken out of the game, still talking hitting.
2-2 coming, and Rosario shoots one foul. Well, it was a frustrating day for Conforto because he had those first 2 at bats where he got called out on pitches that both appeared to be out of the strike zone.
Not a good start to your first 2 at bats of the season.
Can put you in a bad frame of mind.
Yeah, well, got an off day tomorrow to get over it.
Yeah, but the problem is you can't get a hit tomorrow. Zeros stay on your ledger. 2-2. And he reaches for it, fouls off the slider. So if the Mets win today, they will be 38-12 in their last 50 season opening games.
Phenomenal.
No team in the majors, the NFL, the NBA, or the NHL has had a span of 50 season openers, the likes of that, ever.
Oh.
And Rosario somehow got out of the way of that. It's twice in this at bat he's had to vacate against Barraclough. This will be the 8th pitch of the at bat coming. Rosario keeps himself alive.
See less sliders from Barraclough so far. Always remember him having that really good breaking slider.
Last year he threw more changeups than he ever had before, but that's mostly to the lefties. Pitch number 9 from Barraclough to Rosario. Ahmed lines one center field. That's a base hit. That was quite a turn at bat for Rosario. Knocked down twice, fouled off a couple, and on the 9th pitch he laces a base hit.
Also laid off a slider early in the count. And this is, you said it, Gary, this is a terrific at bat.
Well, one thing we saw from Ahmed late last year was a greater willingness to steal bases. This would be a perfect time to steal a base. Stole 15 last year, or 15 in the last 2 months, after stealing just 9 in the first 4 months. And he'll think about that while Lagares takes his turn. Juan has gone 0 for 3 today. And Barraclough thinking along with him. Think about this with Rosario. Rosario, Nimmo, and Conforto were the 3 Mets with the most plate appearances last year. All 25 or under at the end of last year. That had never happened before in Mets history.
It bodes well for the future, right?
Yeah, especially with the pieces they've added. You figure all of those guys are moving forward. And I mean, nobody last year took a bigger leap by the time the season had ended than Rosario did.
Yeah, because Conforto just kind of returned to form.
Right, and Nimmo kind of did it all year long, other than when his hand was hurt. Lagares thinking about trying to bunt for a hit with Rendon playing back. Something that Juan has often tried and rarely been successful at.
Not a good play here with 2 outs. Hit a double. Hit a gap.
Dom Smith hitting on the 9 hole would be next. There goes Rosario. Hesitation by Gomes, and he threw him out anyway. Not a good jump for Rosario, and Gomes guns him down for the 3rd out. Edwin Diaz will be coming on for the bottom of the 9th, trying to save it with the Mets up 2-0. Edwin Diaz will make his Mets debut, looking for his first save after an historically good season for Seattle last year.
What you're going to see from Edwin is great movement on his fastball and a wipeout slider.
Well, the other half of the Mets bounty from the Mariners has done his part today. Robinson Cano's had a big day, and now Diaz trying to hold up his end. Juan Soto fouls back a 98-mile-an-hour fastball, 0-1.
Yeah, he throws hard too.
Yeah, I forgot to add that.
Last year, 73 innings, 41 hits, 17 walks. That's a whip. Walks and hits per innings pitched of 0.79, which is just off the charts. 15.2 strikeouts per 9.
Well, to put that in perspective, we had a great pitching matchup here with DeGrom and Scherzer. They're about 0.9 for their whip. 0.79 for Diaz.
57 saves last year, tied Bobby Thigpen for the 2nd most ever.
Bobby Thigpen, he threw bullets.
Fastball thrown by Soto, and it's 1-2. Ryan Zimmerman on deck, then Yan Gomes for the Nationals, who were in danger of being shut out on opening day. You know the last time the Mets were shut out on opening day? 1963. Bernie Broglio and Ray Washburn of the Cardinals shut him out. 1-2 coming. That's lined into right field, but Broxton is there. 1 out. Ball hit hard by Soto, but Diaz gets his first out as a Met. Well, those are some of the numbers from last year. Look at that, 66-0 when he entered with a lead. Mets are hoping for a lot of that.
Yeah. 14 more saves than anyone else.
Well, Lugo struck out the side on the 7th. Familia pitched a hitless 8th, and now Diaz has 2 more outs to get. Ryan Zimmerman is 0 for 3. And takes the fastball below the knees, ball 1.
That's like easy 98 too.
I mean, he's not a big guy. He's listed at 6'3", but only 165 pounds. Good slider to get it even on Zimmerman, 1-1.
But he's all arms and legs when he's coming at you.
Native of Puerto Rico, drafted in the 3rd round by the Mariners in 2012. 1-1 coming. And the Slider misses away. 2-1. 3 years in Seattle. Became the full-time closer in the middle of his rookie season. That's how good he was. And he only got better from there. And he throws one by Zimmerman, as Ronnie said, easy 97.
Yeah, I also think it's not going to hurt, where all these games are so important in the National League East, that most of the hitters in the National League East have not seen a lot of Diaz.
Don Gomes waits on deck. 2-2 to Ryan Zimmerman. And that's laced into right field. Broxton going back, shading his eyes, making the catch. 2 out. Well, the first 2 hitters have hit it pretty well against Diaz, but Broxton, in for defense, has made both plays. And now Matt Adams will bat for Gomes with the Nats down to their final out. Well, if you're Davey Martinez, you'd love to be able to save Gomes for a spot where he could tie the game, but down to his last out. He'll run that bullet out now.
Should have ran it out about an hour ago.
Yep. And he yanks one foul down the right side. 0-1. Infield over shifted against Adams, and he takes the fastball away. 1-1.
I mean, that's 98 with sinking action.
2 people that Van Wagenen has brought to the Mets have probably the stars in this game if they hang on. Diaz and Cano.
And now the Nationals are down to their final strike. Edwin Diaz trying to close out another successful opening day for the New York Mets. 1-2 to Matt Adams. Going in with the slider. 2-2. If Adams keeps it going, Brian Dozier would be next. Just he went around, strike 3, and the ball game is over. Edwin Diaz puts on the finishing touches on an opening day shutout victory for the New York Mets. Robinson Cano shining in his Mets debut, driving in both runs. Jacob DeGrom picking up where he left off with 6 scoreless innings and 3 scoreless from the bullpen, capped by Diaz's first save as a Met. Mets 2, Nationals nothing.
Well, you're not always sure that when you get a pitcher's duel, it's going to end up being a pitcher's duel. But both Scherzer and DeGrom were fantastic. DeGrom pitched out of 2 big jams to not give up a run against the Nationals.
I'm not sure if he swung here to end the game, but I didn't think he did. But the umpire has the last say. First save for Diaz. Cano, the offensive star of the game, 2 for 4. First at bat in the first inning as a Met, hits a solo home run and then gets an RBI single to the opposite field off a left-hander in the 8th. Accounts for all runs the Mets scored today.
It was everything the Mets could have hoped for on opening day. 38 of their last 50 opening day games have gone in the win column. Game summary brought to you by Citi. Cano with the 2 RBIs. DeGrom 30 straight starts now, 3 runs or fewer. He gets the victory on opening day as the Mets beat the Nats 2-0. For every Mets win, the Mets organization is proud to contribute $2,500 to Northwell Health and the Cass Institute for Women's Health. For more information, visit northwell.edu/cats. This win brings the total contribution so far this season to $2,500. Now Robinson Cano had himself quite a day in his first day as a New York Met.
The 3rd changeup thrown by Scherzer in that first inning, and this one he loses. Cano loses in the right center field. This is a terrific play right here. Realizes the base running mistake by Robles. Knows he can't get 2. Throws home to Ramos. Gets DeGrom out of a jam. Key double play. And then this beautiful base hit right there, and a hard sinker in. Fists it out into the left field, the opposite field, what he did all spring. Another run driven in.
It's a great trade, huh?
Yes.
Paying dividends.
Worked out really well so far. No, seriously, Robinson Cano brings a certain element to this team that they did not have before.
He just makes the game look easy, but he's always heads up, and his ability to not only do it at the plate, but that defensive play was just as big as any of the RBIs he got today.
And you know, the players on this team are looking for him to lead, and it's incumbent on him to get these big hits. When he accounted for both runs today, and that last at bat against a tough left-hander, a hard sinker in, he kind of leading the way here, getting the big hits. He did it all spring. He's done it his whole career.
Great run support for Jacob DeGrom today. He got one whole run in the first inning.
That's all he really needed. He had, jams to pitch out of. He got a little fortunate on the line drive, a little fortunate on the base running mistake by Robles. But when he really needed an out late in the game, he was DeGrom is what he does.
What he did to Juan Soto in that at bat, got behind 2-0, and then went after him with fastballs, and then the changeup to put him away was classic DeGrom.
And so he has a victory, something that eluded him often last year in his first start of the season. 6 scoreless for DeGrom today on opening day. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Meadowlands Racing and Entertainment is more than horses. Visit playmeadowlands.com for details. By People's United Bank, checking without curveball, members FDIC. And by Geico, the #1 insurer in the New York market. Final score on opening day, the Mets 2, the Nationals nothing. The Mets are in first place. We'll try and stay there on Saturday. Game 2 of the season. Noah Syndergaard against Steven Strasburg. Our coverage begins at 12:30 Saturday afternoon right here on SNY. Now for Keith Hernandez, Ron Darling, Steve Gelbs, and our entire SNY crew, I'm Gary Cohen in Washington. Time for WB Mason post-game live. Let's join Gary Apple and the gang in the studio.